why I don't think I'm looking to get married or wishing to get married.
So if you haven't watched the rest of that video, I suggest you do. And also watch the rest of her videos. And then if you're looking to ruin your day a little bit, or if you're just looking for some laughs, go to the comment section. And all the negative comments are from single men. It's just so funny to me that single men are this affected by what she's saying. And they're attacking her, saying that no one will want to marry her anyway because she's 29. By the way, 29 is so young. But that got...
I haven't seen the comments, but let's address that statement. First of all, that apparently in the comments the men have been saying nobody will marry her because she's too old, 29 years old. In the grand scheme of life, 29 is not old, right? If you're going to live to around 80 years old, which is what on average people in the West are living to, human beings in the West are living to, and maybe even women slightly older than that, 29 is not old, it's not even midlife. From a perspective of sexual market value and your desirability to the sexual market, 29 is ancient. 29 is very old. 29 is not 19, and that needs no explanation. Although I will give it an explanation, because I'm going to talk today as if I'm talking to a woman who has never heard the type of things that I speak of ever before in her life. And I will explain to you why, all right? In a few years' time, you're about to hit geriatric pregnancy. That's a politically correct way of saying old people pregnancy. And if you haven't got the baby making machine up and running before then, it's tough to conceive. It's really tough to conceive. The likelihood of you conceiving after that age it diminishes dramatically. I can't remember what the exact percentages are, but I do know the likelihood of conceiving after the age of 40 is around 3%. And it's not much better at 35. So from a biological perspective, once you hit your mid-30s as a woman and you're still not married, you're borderline useless. And once you go past 40, you are useless. Biologically speaking, you're useless to the human species. From a perspective of being able to perpetuate the species, you are useless. Now, I'm not saying that internally you are useless. Your value to people and to your friends and to those that love you and whom you love and so on and so forth, and your connection with Allah, that's all separate. Biologically, I am saying you are useless. So to be 29 and not married is ancient. It's too old, because your competition are the girls who are much younger than you. Now, what's interesting here is the sister who is reacting to our doctor sister here, Dr. Nahla, is also a single woman. And what did I tell you on the video that I made prior to this with regards to this first sister on the left? Or maybe it's your right. What did I say before? That misery loves company. Find me a happily married woman who will agree with another woman who says that she wants to stay single and doesn't want to get married. Find me a happily married woman who will say that. It's only the equally unhappily unmarried single women who are also in their late 20s, early 30s, who will provide the echo chamber that helps make these women feel better about themselves and their choices. They are recruiting. This is a recruitment drive. They need more recruits. Let's continue.
That got me thinking, like, why do they care so much? And it's really because women like her are saying we no longer are going to accept low quality men. And by us saying we don't want you, they have less options. So it's really them that no one wants to...
Okay, let's address that statement. Low quality men. The sister on the left here, she's got a PhD. She's not a medical doctor to my understanding, but she has a PhD. Less than 2% of the US population of men have a PhD. Less than 1.4% of the UK population of men have a PhD. Now, for a PhD woman, she is looking for a man who is at least at the same socioeconomic status as her. She is, at a minimum, looking for a PhD husband or something similar. Something that is equivalent to a PhD, or whatever that might be in the different respective fields. Maybe a CEO or something, right? Whatever the equivalent is, she doesn't want to go down. So, again, to define this term low quality, anything that is, or any man that is beneath her in that hierarchy, even if he's got a bachelor's, maybe even a master's, that's considered low quality for her. Why? Because she's priced herself out of the marriage market. She's invested, this is where the sunk cost fallacy comes in, all of these years into becoming the man she wanted to marry, that now she has simultaneously, as she has climbed the career ladder, she has simultaneously reduced the pool of suitable men that she would consider marrying. And by extension, any man who is not at a minimum at her level, PhD or equivalent, he is considered low quality. But he's not actually low quality. Having a bachelor's is not low quality. Having a master's is certainly not low quality, and whatever the other equivalents are for those who have chosen not to pursue an academic route. That's not low quality. It's just lower than you. Now, a lot of you sisters might be watching and saying, well, Mahdi, you said before that as a woman becomes more educated, her chances of marrying simultaneously decrease. And this is true. Jordan Peterson has cited this many times. The more educated a woman becomes, the less likely, there's a direct relationship, the less likely she will ever marry. So then what are you telling me, Mahdi? Should I not study? Should I not educate myself? I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying understand the chessboard. Understand that if you choose to pursue this route, your pool of suitable suitors will diminish because of you, not because of them. You see, a doctor man, a male doctor, will spend 10 years studying to become a doctor or a surgeon or whatever the case may be. And at the conclusion of those 10 years of study, he will happily fly in a girl from the village back home, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, and marry her in a heartbeat without thinking twice about it. Flip the script. A woman who has spent 7, 8, 9, 10 years becoming this doctor, this PhD, do you think she'll fly in a man from back home, from the village, to marry in a heartbeat like that? Of course not. We all know this is not going to happen. And the women will be simultaneously wondering, yeah, what's wrong with these men? Don't they want educated women like me? What's wrong with them? There must be something wrong with them. How can you spend 10 years studying just to marry a village girl? This is where you go wrong. You are judging how a man should choose a woman by the standard that women choose men. You value the education of a man, his ability to provide, or how much he earns and so on. You value those things. The mistake you have made, and I don't blame you because you have been fed this, indoctrinated with this from a young age, is thinking that men value the same things in women because you were told we are equal and we're not. You were told we're the same and we're not. We're different and we value different things. Hence why our doctor brother here will happily marry the village girl from back home that's 18, 19, 20 in a heartbeat by virtue of her age and youth alone. You can't compete with her. You, as a PhD woman, cannot compete, and you're in your late 20s and early 30s, you cannot compete with a completely uneducated village girl from back home who's 18, 19, 20, 21. Just by virtue of her youth. Is it fair? No, life's not fair. There are many things that men have to deal with that is not fair. That's life. It is what it is. And then you find yourself in this situation whereby you want to play the sour grapes card, which is, well, you know what? I never wanted to get married anyway. Nonsense. That's a lie. No little girl grows up saying to herself, I never want to get married. If she does, there's something wrong with her. The vast majority of normal functioning human beings, women, will want to find their happily ever after, their knight in shining armor, their husband. No woman grows up saying that. Let's continue.
To marry, because quality women are no longer going for low quality men. We'd rather remain being happily single than in a marriage that makes you less happy. It's literally a no.
Two things here. We'd rather remain happily single than in a marriage that makes us less happy. So many things to unpack. Number one, why is the default assumption that a marriage will make you less happy? Well, maybe she'll say it's because I have to settle. If I marry, the only pool of men that are available for me to marry are men who are not on my level. And what's the metric that these women use to make this claim that these men are not on their level? Well, it's purely masculine. It's a masculine metric. It's their career success, their earning, how much they're earning, and their career success. Masculine metrics. This is what women value in men. Failing to recognize that those same men categorically do not value those things in women. And actually, let me take that one step further. The more successful a man becomes, simultaneously, the less he values your academic and professional credentials. Again, one more time. The more successful a man becomes, the less he values those things, those academic and professional accomplishments that you have. Why? Because he doesn't need them. He can take care of you and the house and another woman as well, all at the same time on his own dime. So now, what your professional and academic credentials and all the rest of it, they mean diddy squat. The higher up the socioeconomic hierarchy or ladder that you go, the more successful a man becomes, the less he cares about that stuff. And the more he cares about what he really wants, which is youth, beauty, fertility, femininity, etc. He has the luxury of being able to be more fussy. So those men that you want, they don't want you. And if they did, you'd already be married to one. Either that or the men you want don't exist, because you have this idea of what a man should be and you don't seem to be able to find these men. And I reckon it's a mixed bunch. For some women, the men they want simply don't exist. And for other women, the men they want don't want them. Otherwise, they would be married. Super important. I know this is such a bitter pill to hear and swallow for those women who have spent, and these girls, they're in my age bracket, they're my generation, who have spent a lifetime invested in this false narrative. And I take this video not for them. I take it for you younger sisters who are watching now, because they have spent a lifetime invested in this false narrative, years, 10, 15, 20 years invested in a narrative that you can have it all. You can be the man you want to marry, and you can have the man you want to marry. Sadly not. You must choose. Either you become the man you want to marry, or you have the man you want to marry. You can't have it both.
No-brainer to me. Why would I enter into something that would make my life worse? So if women continue to speak up about marriages that will...
Okay, so again, I didn't unpack the unhappiness part. First of all, there's this peculiar, unhealthy obsession with happiness. Happiness. I want to be happy. Okay. And this is one of the luxuries afforded to a developed society, is that we are obliged to focus less on survival, because that's been taken care of. I don't need to worry about hunting. I don't need to worry about preserving the food. We've got a fridge for that. I don't need to hunt. I can just go Tesco's or Walmart for my American audience. So now that the survival things have been taken care of, now I can worry about my happiness. Okay, well, I'll tell you this. You may think that marrying a man who is not on your socioeconomic level might make you unhappy because he doesn't tick off your hypergamous boxes. Okay, fine. But the thing is, you don't get to choose. You don't get to escape unhappiness. You either accept the unhappiness of marrying a man who is not on your level. And again, I say that's nonsense. Your level is dictated primarily by your sexual market value, youth, beauty, fertility, femininity, those metrics, not your academic or professional credentials. Okay? Or you choose the unhappiness of remaining single and being a spinster. Now, for these sisters here who are still relatively young, late 20s, early 30s, I think they're around, these two are about the same age. The sister on the right looks a little bit older, but same age bracket. The reality of this unhappiness I speak of has not yet fully hit home. Why? Because they're still getting attention. This is very, very important. Women value attention the most. Men value sex the most. Men like attention from women, but he wants sex more. Women like sex from men, but she wants attention more. They are still getting attention through their social media channels or the men who are courting them at work and so on. So they're still getting that dopamine hit, that validation that they're still desirable. But do you know what's going to happen, sisters? Once you get past a certain age, once you hit the wall, that attention's going to dry up. Men are going to stop noticing you and you will become invisible. And at that moment, whilst you are invisible and single and childless, then the tax must be paid in full of the reality of your situation. And then you will understand the meaning of unhappiness. And I share that with you sincerely, and I share that with you with a heavy heart. Then you will really understand the meaning of unhappiness. You're okay right now because you're still getting that attention. Wait a few years with a few more wrinkles, a little bit more overweight, and a bit more competition from the younger girls, and you will find out the meaning of unhappiness. Believe me, there is no escape from this. So either you choose the unhappiness of marrying a man who you believe is not on your level, which is nonsense, okay? Or you choose the unhappiness of single spinsterhood.
Will actually elevate your life and actually improve your life, and not settling for ones that won't. That's a threat to their marriage prospects. And for
not elevate your life and improve your life. And what did I say just now? The higher up the socioeconomic ladder a woman goes, she still wants a man to elevate her life and improve her life. This, by the way, speaks to the ultra-dependent nature of women on men. That regardless of how high she is, she still wants a man to improve her. She's still helpless, really helpless, subhanAllah. It's her nature. But she still wants a man to improve her, whereas a man literally couldn't care less. Yeah, that's not what he's looking for. He's looking for a completely different set of things entirely. Completely different set of things. So she still wants her life to be improved. So ladies, if you're going down the academic route, you're thinking of doing a PhD and so on, okay, fine. I'm not going to tell you not to. Understand what you're signing yourself up for. That's all I'm saying. Understand. The higher up the ladder you go, the more difficult it will be for you to find a man that you are satisfied with, that satisfies your hypergamous tendencies.
So why would financially independent women go into marriages that would make their lives worse? That would make them sacrifice things that when they were single they had. Like, what's the benefit? I really don't see it. Alhamdulillah, so many women have really great lives. Like, we can be emotionally fulfilled by our friendships, by our family members, just are deeply content. So
Allah al-Mustaan. There is no replacement or substitute for intimate love. It doesn't exist. There is no replacement or substitute for intimate love with the opposite gender, the opposite sex. There is no replacement. You can't replace that. And maybe if you've never experienced it, then you don't know what you're missing as much. But believe me, once the toll of time begins to take its toll on you, then you will find out what the time is. Then you will find out. Especially once that attention you are now receiving and being courted with dries up.
why settle and introduce someone into your life that's not going to respect you or support you and expect you to be like their second mom? Why decrease that?
Why is there an automatic presumption that a man is not going to respect you? I don't understand where this automatic presumption comes from, that men across the board have got some type of sinister motive. Men across the board don't respect women, or men across the board don't want to make women happy. You know, that's the one thing. Men literally start wars, build empires, huge organizations, just so they can get a woman. All of that is so that he can get a woman. Why does a man buy a big fast car? Why does a man buy a big house? Why does a man want to become a CEO? Why does a man want to become financially independent? To get a woman. Take all the women off this planet, I am telling you, 99.99% of men will lose all motivation to do anything and everything. A man wants a six-pack and money and cars and watches so that he can get a woman, so that he can make a woman happy. He wants a woman so that he can take care of her and look after her. It's one of his deepest desires and needs and wants. So where does this mindset come from that men doesn't want to respect me? I would ask, what does respect mean? What does it mean to you? Because undoubtedly it is rooted in some sort of Western feminist ideals.
That quality of life for yourself. Single, low-quality men are trying to tell us that we can't be happy without them. And because that narrative is changing, their marriage prospects are being threatened. And obviously it's not all men. If you don't think this applies...
Of course, the more women that he who is willing to commit suicide has the initiative. As Bob Spassky, the famous chess master, once said, he who is willing to commit suicide has the initiative. So of course, if women en masse decide that they don't want to get married, then of course men will simultaneously be affected at the same time. This is normal, and it's not abnormal for a man to be concerned about that. Men love women. Men are just speaking generally, of course, yeah. But generally speaking, a man loves a woman. He wants to be with her. He wants to be with at least one woman. I've spoken before of how people define or chart the future direction of their lives by defining themselves in reverse of their parents. So I've seen a couple of the comments here. One of them in particular stuck out to me. They have made us believe that it is better to be miserable in marriage than be single, and this generation sees the truth because we have seen our mother. So what I think this comment is referring to is that she's seen her mum be unhappy in her marriage. So now they have defined themselves in reverse and have said to themselves, okay, mum has been unhappy in marriage, so you know what? Unless I can have everything I want, I'm not going to get married. This is a mistake because you are still defining yourself by that very experience. You might think this is a choice from free will, but it's not. The opposite of extreme is still extreme. And more importantly, maybe your mum was unhappy at points in her marriage. Maybe she was very unhappy at points in her marriage. Let me tell you something. Life is not about happiness. Life is struggle and sacrifice. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي كَبَدٍ. We have created mankind in hardship, difficulty, turmoil. That is the essence of life. This euphoric ideal of, or I should say this utopian ideal of chasing happiness doesn't exist. So you must choose the struggle of marriage or the struggle of spinsterhood. And I can tell you, the struggle of spinsterhood is much harder. So you might think that you saw your mum unhappy at periods of time and you've decided, you know what? No, I'm not going to get married. No. This is the opposite side of the same coin. The opposite of extreme is still extreme. You will be unhappy you will be far unhappier on your own, unmarried, not seeing your progeny and children, than you would be in a marriage that would fulfill you. Will you be happy all the time? No. Will you be happier than if you were single, childless, miserable? Yes. If you found value in the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I did a reaction to this sister here just a few days ago. If you haven't seen it, you'll be able to see it at the bottom of the screen right here. And if you want to book a consultation, the links are all in the description. Assalamu alaikum.